This screencast will show you how to use Google Scholar to find experts to help you with Assignment 2. Google Scholar is a freely accessible web search engine that indexes the full text or metadata of scholarly literature across an array of publishing formats and disciplines. So to start with, we're going to go to Google and we're going to type in Google Scholar and we're going to click through. Now we're going to enter a search term. In this case, we're going to enter Australian youth voters. And we're going to make sure that we've got articles selected. We don't need to click case law. As you can see, we've been presented with a number of articles. One of the first articles that we see is from 1997. You want to be careful with this. Make sure that you're looking for up-to-date research, particularly because we want to make sure that the experts that we're looking for and the academics are currently active in their field. We don't want to look for someone who hasn't, we don't want to look up someone who hasn't been active since 1997. So I'm going to change the search parameters. You can change it to a custom range, or you can click one of the preset parameters here. I'm going to go to custom range and I'm going to put in 2017 to 2019 and I'm going to click search. Okay, so as you can see here, I've come up with a number of different articles. Make sure that you find ones that are specific to Australia, because remember, our story is about youth voters in Australia. So you can see there's a number of different articles. You will have to have a browse through and see which ones seem to be most relevant to your story. Again, if you're not getting the right search results from your search terms, you might like to change them. So I'm going to change it to young Australian voters. And this one here looks really good. Complicit young citizens or cross-generational solidarity and analysis of Australian attitudes to democratic politics. So I'm going to click through. And I can see that this was published in the Australian Journal of Political Science, which lets me know firstly that yes, it is an Australian publication. I can see the date of publication was 2017, which means it's fairly recent. And if I scroll down, I can hover over and see where the different academics are from. Now in this case, Jerry Stoker is from the UK, so he's probably not exactly who we're looking for. He obviously has a good grasp of Australian politics, but he might be quite difficult to get in touch with. So let's try and find someone a little bit closer to home. Jinjin Lee works for the Institute of Governance and Policy Analysis at the Uni of Canberra. So he sounds great. So I'm going to click open link. And I can see his other publications. Then I'm going to just do a search for him. And I can see his profile here at the Governance Institute. Get a little bit more information about him, and I can look at his research interests. So he's interested in economics, statistical modelling, microstimulation and tax and income issues. So that, combined with the fact that he has published about young Australian citizens and their voting attitudes, means that he's probably a good candidate for my assignment. He could be a good source. Again, if I go back to my article, I can have a look at the other publishers here. I've got Max Halupka, who works for, again, the Institute of Governance, and Mark Evans, who works there as well. So these people may also be suitable. And again, if I have a look, I can see that Mark in particular has published quite a lot about policy, voting and politics. I'm going to have a look for his profile. Again, with a name like Mark Evans, there's probably going to be 3 million of him, so I might need to be a bit more specific. Oh, but he comes up, so that's great. And if I click through, again, I can see his research interests here. Going back to Google Scholar, the voting strategies of young people, a conceptual framework. Again, this sounds like a really interesting article. And I've got 3 different people that I could have a look at. So let's go with Jacqueline. Jacqueline works at find out by searching her. And she's actually got some publications on The Conversation. So again, click through and I can have a look at her articles. Here we go, perfect. Schools are not adequately preparing young Australians to participate in our democracy. She sounds absolutely perfect. Young Australians are engaged in political issues but unsure how democracy works. This, I think, is who I'm going to interview for my story. She sounds perfect. She's got a history in looking at how young people engage with democracy, and she's got published pieces that actually look at how young people choose to vote. So Jacqueline is going to be my candidate, my source for assignment 2. So this has been a brief introduction to Google Scholar. I hope it's been helpful. Remember, if you have anything you still don't understand, feel free to ask me in class or via email.